Good evening and welcome. This is Spotlight Africa, brought to you by Spectrum Television and Planet Radio, bringing you news all around the continent. My name is Uyai Anyekan. Today on Spotlight Africa, United Kingdom, United States issue fresh security alert on Uganda. New charge sparks outcry on Kenya ID cards. Harare Mayor Ayan Makonle latest target in Zimbabwe opposition CCC role. Heavyweight fighting in historic Ethiopian town. Plus, flawed fatalities rise to 29 in Somalia. These stories are all just ahead on Spotlight Africa. Do stay with us. Good evening and thanks for joining us. First on Spotlight Africa, the British High Commission in Uganda has warned of a growing terror threat in Uganda, including targeting of foreigners, hours after the U.S. Embassy issued a similar alert. Both diplomatic missions warned citizens against attending large gatherings, including worship activities. They also cautioned against participation in music and cultural festivals ahead of the popular Nyege festival on Thursday and visits to national parks. Reports say Uganda has experienced heightened insecurity in recent months. In another development, 2 British nationals and defendants of 2 others have been prevented from leaving Gaza with their families to flee the war between Hamas and Israel. Abdurrahman Al-Harazin, an interpreter from London, said his pregnant wife and 3 children were able to cross into Egypt at Rafah as their names were on an approved list of foreign nationals. His name was not, though, and he waited almost 3 days at the Egyptian side. Ahmed Sabra, a doctor from Swansea, is stuck in the same situation. Like Alzrain, he was separated from his wife and 3 children after officials on the Palestinian side of the border allowed him to accompany them to the Egyptian side. Reports say the 2 dependents, who have not been named, are the wives of British men who were allowed to cross into Egypt. One of the women is a doctor and the mother of 2 British children. We move now to Kenya, where government has imposed a charge for national identity cards, provoking the ire of many citizens. Until now, Kenyans have acquired ID cards for free upon reaching 18, but new applicants now face a fee of 1,000 Kenyan shillings. Reports say the cost of replacing ID cards has also increased 20-fold to 2,000 shillings. The new charges, which come amid a spiraling cost of living crisis, have ignited widespread outcry among Kenyans, especially on social media. Meanwhile, human rights lawyers say Kenya's government is illegally evicting hunter-gatherers from their ancestral lands to profit from carbon offsetting schemes. According to their representatives, hundreds of members of the Ogiek community are being evicted from the Mau forest. Ogiek leader Daniel Kobie said armed forest rangers were pulling down the houses with axes and hammers. Meanwhile, Kenya's government says such operations are to protect the environment. Dr. Justin Kenrick from the Forest Peoples Program said that carbon credits and offsetting were key to what was happening. Away from that, Libya International Criminal Court prosecutor has updated the United Nations Security Council on the progress in human trafficking investigations. The prosecutor, Karim Khan, said his office has undertaken over 15 investigation missions and collected more than 4,000 items of evidence over the last 6 months. The update came 18 months after the implementation of a renewed strategic plan for the work of ICC in Libya. Elsewhere, the mayor of Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, is facing the sack in the latest wrangle that is threatening to weaken the main opposition party. Reports say a man saying he was a Citizens Coalition for Change (CCC) official has already got 15 members of parliament removed after alleging they were not party members. Meanwhile, Sengezo Sabago has now written to the government to say Mayor Ayan Bokoni was not part of the CCC. CCC leader Nelson Chamisa has said Sabago was an imposter. In a statement on X, the party has said it is taking legal action against the man restraining him from falsely representing the CCC party. It also urged steadfast supporters to remain calm. A letter by Sabago, who described himself as the CCC's interim Secretary General, to the Speaker of Parliament last month led to the Speaker removing 15 members of Parliament. This has triggered by elections to be held in December. In separate developments, 17 Zambian opposition members of parliament have been suspended from parliament for 30 days following a disruption of the House session last week. The lawmakers defied orders to leave the plenary after they accused the Speaker of denying them an opportunity to speak. While suspending them, Speaker Nelly Muti described the members of Parliament's behavior as unparliamentary and a breach of the House's decorum and integrity. Muti said the lawlessness should not be confused with freedom of expression and defying the Speaker amounted to an assault on Zambia's constitutional democracy. Away from that, Somalia National Disaster Management Agency says death toll from the ongoing flash floods in the country has risen to 29. The agency's head, Mahmoud Moliam, said the flooding has left many people injured and affected an estimated 850,000 others. According to him, 14 people had been confirmed killed in the floods by the United Nations Humanitarian Affairs Agency, OCHA. Recall that earlier this week, Somalia declared an emergency in the most affected states, Jubaland, Hashbel, Southwest, and Gamdong. Yet in another development, residents have told newsmen that Ethiopian government forces and local militias have clashed in the historic town of Lalibe, and the volatile at the fighting as intense and said it included the use of heavy weapons. Now, according to the residents, a plane due to land at the airport today failed to do so. Lalibe is home to rock-hewn churches built in the 13th century and are registered as UNESCO World Heritage Sites, making it a popular tourist destination. Meanwhile, the interim leader of Ethiopia's northern region of Tigray, Getachew Reda, has taken the unprecedented move of sacking 4 senior officials. They are also key members of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, the party which agreed to a peace pact with government last November after a brutal 2-year civil war. He gave no reason for firing his deputy, Alem Grebwid, who is also the TPLF's chairperson, Amenloa Asifa, the chief cabinet secretary, Leah Kasa, the Southeastern Zone Administrator, and Tekle Gebragdin, who headed the Northwestern Zone. But the move has caused shockwaves in the region, especially within the TPLF. It also comes a week after the region marked the 1-year anniversary of the peace deal that established the interim administration, which has faced criticism for not doing more to help those affected by the war. In the meantime, much-awaited talks between the Ethiopian government and the Oromo Liberation Front, OLA, rebel group have resumed in Tanzania. According to reports, significantly, OLA commander Kumsa Diraba has joined Ethiopian government and military officials in the talks for this time. Meanwhile, the previous round of talks between the Ola and the government ended without agreement and fighting continued. The regional bloc IGAD, which is headed by Ethiopia's former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Workneh Gebreyehu, is believed to be among key mediators. King Charles awards Obi to South African actor John Carney. Stay tuned for details of this and more after this time out. Thanks for staying tuned, and now to the rest of the news stories on Spotlight Africa. In Nigeria, a court has ordered the release of former Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele, who has been in detention since June on bail. According to Judge Olukayode Adeniyi, sitting in the High Court in the capital, Abuja, there must be an end to detention without trial. Emefiele has been charged with illegally owning a shotgun after he was arrested by the feared secret police, officially known as the Department of State Services (DSS). He denies the charges. However, his trial has stalled since August when the security agencies failed to present him in court to enter a plea. Meanwhile, Emefiele was granted bail on condition that he surrenders his passport and his lawyers produce him in court on the 15th of November. He was not asked to put up any money as a condition for bail. Moving away from that, a major renal unit at Ghana's publicly funded Koli BU Teaching Hospital, KBTH, in the capital Accra, has reopened after a 5-month closure. The country's largest treatment center for patients suffering kidney disease shut because of budgetary issues, and it was unable to pay for the everyday needs of those needing its services. This week, the hospital management announced that it was in collaboration with the Ministry of Health to resolve debt resulting from cost under recoveries. Recall that last week, Ghanaian Member of Parliament summoned Health Minister Keiko Ayeman Manu about the unit's closure. According to Kofi Bafor, the head of Patients Group, 19 people have lost their lives since the facility closed. Many patients who could not afford treatment at private hospitals were left without options during the closure. Patients in need of dialysis treatment typically have to visit the hospital 3 times a week. Reports say the cost of treatment at KBTH was $190 per week, considerably lower than private hospital rates. In a separate development, the Kenya Red Cross has called for emergency action amid intensifying rains and floods that have so far killed at least 15 people and displaced more than 85,000 households in the East African state. The World Meteorological Organization said that El Nino, the phenomenon behind the heavy rains, is likely to persist at least until April 2024. Meanwhile, the Kenya Red Cross said that the counties of Garissa, Tana River and Kilifi were at risk of flooding as the heavy rains push water in the Tana River beyond critical levels. Reports say in the neighboring Mandera County, the town of Elwak Town has been entirely submerged. Heavy rains have swept through East Africa in recent days, leading to flooding in parts of Kenya, Somalia and Ethiopia. Away from that, a pathologist has told an inquest that a British couple who suddenly fell ill after staying in an Egyptian hotel room died of carbon monoxide poisoning. but experts could not be sure of the source of the poisonous gas that killed John Cooper, 69, and his wife Susan, 63. Blackburn Coroner's Court heard the couple from Burnley died suddenly on the 21st of August 2018 after becoming ill. They were staying at the Steinberger Aqua Magic Hotel in Hurghada. A statement from a German tourist read at the inquest said there was a bedbug infestation in the room next door to the Coopers, which was treated with a pesticide referred to as Lambda. At lunchtime, with the Coopers falling ill in the early hours and dying the next day. Reports say the two rooms had an adjoining door, but this was kept locked. Lastly, today on Spotlight Africa, one of South Africa's most celebrated artists, John Carney, has been awarded an OB, Order of British Empire, by King Charles, making the announcement the British High Commissioner in Pretoria, Anthony Philipson, said the honor was extremely well deserved. According to Philipson, for almost 60 years, he has been one of South Africa's most renowned actors, authors, directors, and playwrights. Meanwhile, the UK government says the honours system recognises exceptional achievement and service and includes non-British nationals who receive honorary awards from the monarch on the advice of its Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. And that's all we have for you today on Spotlight Africa, bringing you news all around the continent, brought to you by Spectrum Television and Planet Radio. Do well to follow us on social media, all of which you can find at SpectrumTv Live. You can also follow us on planetradio.ng. Do well to catch up on all of our content on YouTube. My name is Uyai Aniak, and thanks for being a part of this, and enjoy the rest of your day.